Hello everybody and welcome to my very first ever YouTube video. This will be a drive featuring Tesla's full self-drive beta version 10.4. Please remember that this does not make the vehicle autonomous. It requires constant vigilance and hence always have to be on the steering wheel. It can and does make mistakes and can sometimes do unexpected things, so you always have to be prepared to intervene if needed. Here we go. As we start to make our way out of this parking lot, you'll notice that we're going to go over a couple of speed bumps. 10.4 can recognize speed bumps, but usually only when they're colored differently than the road. These ones aren't really designated in any way. They're the same color and just slightly raised, so it doesn't recognize them. Later on in the video, you'll see some speed bumps that it does recognize and does slow down for. When we make our first right out of here, it'll take us into this short turning lane and then make its way out into the driving lane. I would have gone directly into the driving lane, but I think that's only because I know that lane is short and the car probably didn't know until it turned into it and saw that it ended. Either way, it was very smooth, so no issues there. I love this turn we're coming up to here because it's a right and then a very quick left, and you'll notice we'll have an oncoming car we have to deal with. And this also is handled quite nicely. As soon as we're clear of that car, we go right on through, very smooth, no issues whatsoever. Nothing remarkable about this turn here. The car comes down to a complete stop, and since there's no cars coming from our left, it proceeds quickly to the right. I've noticed the 10.4 acceleration is very nice after turns. The car comes to its set speed very quickly, a lot of times quicker than I would. We've got a right turn coming up now, and nice and smooth. On this street, there is actually going to be a stop sign in just a minute. And the previous time I did this drive, it stopped about 10 feet before the stop sign, and then it stopped once again at the stop sign. And as far as I could tell, I can't really see anything on the road or any other indicators that would account for that. I ended up reporting it, and it happens again now. And there's the stop sign, and we come to a stop on this driveway. I reported it, and then this time actually we went past the stop sign and came to a stop, so I reported that as well, and then we proceed onward. Ahead of us here is a four-way stop where we're going to be making a left, and you're going to notice that there's a bicycle that's about to cross our path. There they are. And the car comes to a pretty violent stop right there, pretty far away from them. I went ahead and reported it because, well, that's better than getting too close to them. That would have been bad if somebody was right behind me. And here we go on to the left. It's a little bit hesitant, but makes it on through. And then we're going to take a right into this church parking lot. And I'm going to disengage once we're in the parking lot so I can pick our next destination. All right, off we go again. I've set our destination for a nearby park, but we're going to go ahead and go through this parking lot. And the speed bumps here, you'll notice, are clearly marked, and the car does see them and it does slow down for them. And you can actually see them marked on the visualization as well. And you'll see where our speed is reducing down to 6 miles an hour for the speed bumps, and then accelerating back up, and then decelerating back down. Now here we did completely cross over onto the oncoming traffic lane in the parking lot. So I did report that. I didn't take over because, there's nobody ahead of us, so it's not really an issue right now. And the exit from this church parking lot is actually a very windy road. So I was very curious to see how the car does on that. And we got one more speed bump here. It'll slow down for, and you can see it marked on the visualization. And then this coming up here is the windy path on our way out. It's a one-way street going down. The car does do a good job, though, of keeping its right. However, when we get towards the bottom, if we make a left, which is what we will be making, we should be on the left side, and the car does not do that at all. There's nobody else here, so I didn't correct it. I let it be in that lane, but we should be in the left lane. Now here, you'll actually notice me start to lift my hand. I just assumed from some past experiences that the car was going to give the other car the right of way even though we got to the stop first. And I was very pleasantly surprised and had to put my hand down quickly because the car went for it and made a very smooth left out of there, and off we went. This upcoming road that we're going to be turning on to next, it's going to have one of the center lanes where if you need to make a left, you can get into the center lane and kind of wait the oncoming traffic for your chance to make a left. I will be making another video in the future where I try to make some lefts on this road because I've noticed in the past the Tesla does not really like to get into these center lanes. Many times it simply kind of ignores the lane and tries to make a left from the main traffic lane, which is not a good behavior. So you'll see starting around here, we have this center lane that the car should be getting into if it was going to make a left into any of these parking lots. We're still a little bit from our left turn, but I definitely look forward to trying a few here and seeing how it does. All right, we've still got this center lane on our left side, and we are coming up on our left turn here. Let's see how it handles it. And you can see that it is not slowing down enough, and it is not trying to take us into the left lane. So I actually took over there, and I'm making this left turn now. Now, let's take a look and see what happened. So when we first started heading into the turn, I'm going to put it up here. You see how it was going to kind of get us into the left-hand lane, but very last minute. And then as we proceeded on, it actually changed the path and it was going to keep us in our lane and make the left from the traffic lane, which, like I said before, is definitely not what we want to do. So I took over the driving and slowed us down, put us in the left turn lane, and made the left turn. This was actually the first time so far on this drive that I've had to do anything to take over. Something I just thought about with that center lane and the fact that the car doesn't get into it is I just realized looking at the video again that the outer lines of that center lane are solid yellow and the insides are dotted yellow. So maybe that solid yellow outer line is being treated as a do not cross line by the car. Two things that using the FSD system has done for me is I now, even when I do drive myself, which is rare these days, I tend to stay much further back from cars than I used to before because I'm just so used to seeing that large gap in front of me now that I've used the system for a few months. And the other thing is I'm finding out that a lot of roads have a much lower speed limit than I initially thought. My setting is to be about 15% above the speed limit. It puts it to, about 4 or 5 miles in low speed areas and about 9, 10 miles in high speed areas. But a lot of times I'll be going down the road wondering why the car is only going 40 when I just assumed that road has a speed limit of like 45, and then it turns out that the road actually has a speed limit of 35. Sometimes I have to manually increase it just because I don't like to see a train of cars piling up behind me. On the flip side of that is inside of neighborhoods and residential areas, I a lot of times have to manually scroll the speed limit back down because most of those streets have a 25-mile speed limit, and I'm just not comfortable having the car zip around inside neighborhoods at 25 miles an hour, especially since small animals and stuff could be crossing. So I usually will lower that manually to about 10, 15 miles an hour. And here we're going to be making a right turn into this park. So we're getting into the turn lane and then we'll be making the right. And then I'm going to pause here for a minute and disengage. That way I can set our next destination. All right, I have our next destination set. We're going to be going to a Publix in my local area. And I kept the car facing in the same direction, even though we need to be going the other way, because I wanted to see how it handles this circular drop-off. This is where parents could drop their kids off or pick them up from the park. And the car does awesome. It's hugging the inside lane a bit more than I probably would, but nothing wrong with that. Very smooth and does the full circle and then picks up our route on the way out. Now here, instead of staying kind of in our lane, it starts to go over the parking spaces. I'm chalking that up to the fact that the parking spaces are covered in pine straw and the lines are not very easy to see, but it corrects itself as soon as we get to the actual street level. And here we go on the left, and then we're going to be making a right to come out of here. So the car comes to a nice stop, says creeping for visibility, and once it's clear, off we go. Here we're coming up onto a very sharp right turn, and the car handles it beautifully, very smooth. Most turns have tended to be pretty smooth. Every once in a while there'll be a jerky one or kind of a hesitant one, but for the most part it does pretty good, especially right turns. Now this kind of got my heart racing a little bit. You can see ahead of us is a stopped delivery van in the middle of our lane that we're going to have to go around. I like that the car does slow down to close to 10 miles an hour, and then it goes to the side to check, sees there's nobody there, and then goes around. So that was great. I could not have asked for anything better. I was very, very happy with that. Coming up, we've got another right turn, and this one is at a light. You can see from here that the light is red, so I was very curious to see what the car does. Sometimes it'll do a right on red on its own. Other times you have to very lightly tap the accelerator just to tell it that it's okay to go through this red, and it'll check for visibility, and that's what it's doing now. I did have to tap the accelerator lightly, and it's creeping forward. And when it saw it was clear after this car, it went. There we go. I don't know how it makes the decision on some red lights to try to turn on its own, and other times you kind of have to give it a hint that you want it to go through. In a second here, we're going to be coming up on another right turn at a light. And here there are going to be two right turn lanes that the car can choose from. One corresponding for each one of the two lanes of the road that we're going to be going on. And it looks like the car is going to be staying in the left-hand right turn lane. And I didn't get a chance to see how it would handle the red light here because we got a green light. And the car is going, and nice. Very smooth turn, kept our lane. In a second here, the car is gonna change lanes to the right-hand lane. And there we go. This was one of the biggest things that caught me off guard the first couple of days when I got into the FSD Beta, because in the FSD Beta, the car doesn't need you to confirm or do anything for it to do lane changes or pretty much anything. Where on the highway version, even if you don't have it set to confirm lane changes, it still asks you to jiggle the steering wheel just to confirm that you're paying attention right before it does a lane change, so you're rarely kind of surprised by a lane change. So it took a day or two for me to get used to the car just changing lanes on its own without anything. Now here, if I was going to Publix, I would be getting in the right-hand turn lane and making a right turn here and then a left into the parking lot. But the GPS has us going through this light and then making a right. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now, ideally, once we get through this light, we should be getting into the right-hand lane. That way we can be making a right turn into the parking lot. Unfortunately, the car doesn't really take us into that lane at the beginning and waits kind of to the last second to where it pretty much takes us into the parking lot from this lane. But we made it in. There was no car in our way or anything. But here, I ended up taking over because it's pathing us into the oncoming lane, and we've got a car turning into that lane. So I didn't want to risk anything or make anyone feel uncomfortable. Well, this is the end of our ride. Thank you so much for watching. And please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm just starting out, so it would really help the channel. Thank you so much.